right, guys, we're going to get into this Smarter Agent training for today and rock and roll through a bunch of questions because what we're getting into is real moments in real estate and sales in general. Puzzled by agents, by deals, by contract terms. What do I do now? We have talked about these things in the past, but not as clearly as we're going to go through it today. So the question becomes, what now? We are going to have plenty of open Q&A. We need to look at this thing with insight, guys, and we need to remember our instructions that we've had. We need to stop and think before we act or speak, which is tough sometimes when we think we've got the answer immediately. We need to really put it into perspective. We need to look at the options that are available, then act with focus and use your resources, okay? This is the number one, I just think, a straight up thought process that we all need to have. And even on this one, we're saying that we're doing a Q&A, but what about buyers' questions and answers? Do we know those things ahead of time? If we're working in a community, are we not looking ahead of time to see what community that is, what the rules are, what they can and can't do, so we can speak with the brain instead of every question they ask, go, I don't know, but I'll find out. If you say that 5 times in a row, they're just going to assume you don't know, okay? And we want you to know. So right now, these are questions that you guys sent in, and of course I added some. But these are just real life real estate sales issues. My client is pre-approved and under contract or in contract, but now wanting to look into other lenders, hoping for a lower rate. What do I do? You know what you do is you point them, in my opinion, first of all, back to their contract that they're in. Here's the terms that you have and the time period that you have. There's nothing in there that says they can't switch lenders. Okay, that's a very possible thing to do. However, there's time periods. Yeah. And if that lender can't meet the time periods, then you're hoping that the seller will do an extension with you to get it closed, which can get really challenging and irritating to sellers. So if indeed they want to do that, they need to do it right away. If they got pre-qualified with somebody or pre-approved, hopefully through somebody. So you know the difference, right? Pre-qual, they just call in and it's a stated issue. Yeah, right. At least when they're pre-approved, they've provided actual data is the goal. And you want them fully approved. If you're going to work your time and things, you want to make sure they do.
I don't think there's an agent out there that'll take a pre-qualifying anymore.
Yeah, I won't.
You guys got smart.
So yeah. Yeah, it's just I can get that in an hour and it just doesn't help anybody. Yeah. It checks a box, right? So what do? You help them. Look at them. But be sure they're going back and talking to the original lender. There's a reason they went to them. So my question would be this. Why do you want to look at other lenders? Didn't you shop that prior to getting a pre-approval? No, I only went with the one you recommended. Okay, I recommended them because I think they're the best. But we can look at others, and you may even find a better rate somewhere online. Doesn't mean they're going to get the deal done for you. Do you want the house? These are questions you start to ask them. Doesn't mean you're not allowing them to research other lenders. They should have beforehand. But anyhow, that's the ticket for me and my line of thinking. Any thoughts on that, Chris, being a lender?
Yeah, I do actually. So one of the questions you can also ask them, so let's just say they didn't shop around, they just went with your recommendation. Mm-hmm. And let's say that person was a bank. Okay, and they gave them a program at a rate and they want something better. That's the one thing you need to ask them. So are you going back to other banks? Are you going to a credit union?
Right.
Are you going to a mortgage broker? Now, of course, because I'm a mortgage broker, I like being a mortgage broker because I got 37 investors I can go with.
Sure.
So there's different programs that I can do that.
We're going to pass the mic.
Do I need to hold it?
I mean, yeah, just so it's serious. Yeah.
So my question then is to them is, do they have the same programs that maybe you were pre-approved at? I mean, I definitely got a deal now. They shopped around, and I was able to get them approved under a really hard bank statement program, 36 months worth of bank statements, right? 3 different accounts.
Yep.
They wanted to go to the builder because the builder had such great incentives, which is,
of course,
we were like, yeah, go do it. And after seeing the tax returns, I know they weren't going to be able to get approved for as much as they wanted. They could get approved,
right,
just not for the dollar amount they wanted, where this program could. So it was really easy for them to change it up. You know, you still had time, or they still had time. They were denied. So then they came back and then they're like, okay, the rate might not be as good because you're not doing a standard Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, right? You're doing a bank statement, you're doing a
Right.
non-QM loan.
Mhm.
Then problem that you guys are gonna have with all of your borrowers is everybody has an aunt and uncle, everybody has a friend.
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
has somebody in the business,
Mhm.
and they're like, oh, well, my buddy over here does mortgages and he can get you 5%. That's exactly what
Right.
happened. Number one, 5% ain't anywhere out there for
Mm-mm.
your best credit with
Yeah.
great debt ratios.
Yeah.
But if they're, your question to them, the answer your question is, are you shopping apples to apples? Because
Right.
don't be shopping a bank for a bank statement program because they don't do
They
it,
won't do it.
right?
Right.
If you're shopping with another broker, then great. Maybe they might be able to get a little tweak and they can get the same bank statement program approved. But if you're shopping with another bank or credit union, they ain't gonna work. So make sure
Right.
you're doing the apples to apples thing. You're only gonna help your borrowers
Yeah.
make that final decision because that's exactly what it comes down to, is time.
Agreed. No, I appreciate that completely, and it's so true. So, again, if they're looking around, they just make sure they're comparing apples to apples. We will get into other things like the new build. So, hey, can my buyer use their own lender on a new build? Absolutely. But you want to talk to the builder about this, their rep, because the fact of the matter is, if you just go in with your own lender, incentives are gone. If you typically, let's throw typically out there. Typically, what happens if you go through their lender and they can't get you approved and you bring your own lender in, they'll honor their incentives or at least a percentage of them. Get that ironed out up front.
Yeah.
Find out what they're willing to do or don't waste your buyer's time, right? Okay, so that's my suggestion with the new build. Daphne, yeah, it was your question right there. Did I answer your question? Yeah, I had a girl. Okay, all right, so if I answered your question, I'll keep rolling.
Just make sure.
Next
that
is mine
we-
too.
Let's make sure that that's in the contract. Because a lot of
Right.
time in the
Yes.
builder's
Yeah.
contract, they'll give the 10,000 incentive, but nowhere in there says if you use your blah, 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 blah. So, it's only 9,500 per se, just
Yep.
make sure it's in the
Add
contract.
the addendum, yep. Okay, so what do I do when the seller on the contract isn't actually the owner and you're under contract with them? This is a unique situation. So Daphne, this is your question. What have you ran into with that so I can answer it completely?
So one of my first transactions was my buyer was kind of like going around streets and things like that, and he
Mhm.
saw a for sale by owner sign.
Okay, the one on the fence?
Yes.
All right, I've got your question. Here we go.
Okay, go
So
for it.
here's the deal. If you get into contract
Mhm.
based on somebody owning a property and it appears that they own a property, this is another scam that happens. Folks will go out and just hang a sign on a property when they know nobody's living there. And they'll put it for sale and it's their name and number. And they're acting like they're below market rates. And here's the weird part. Some of them can actually get their name processed through the courts, and it appears as though they own the property.
Mhm.
It is a disaster.
Well, that's how this one was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember. So it's a disaster when that happens, and there's a reason why we have title searches and get really deep in that. But it's also very helpful when you see somebody post another sign that goes, "This property is not for sale. That was a scam."
Yeah.
We all appreciate it when we get those things. But the fact of the matter is, when you're in that kind of a contract, you don't have a contract. It's null and void because
Right.
you're working with someone who's not. In reality, is there a lawsuit that could be filed? Yes. Is the guy probably worth any money? Probably not. Trying to get blood out of a turnip. So you want to just drop that deal as quickly as you can. Have the title company cancel it and make sure that you get the escrow back, because the seller on that doesn't even have to sign for escrow release because they're not the seller.
Mhm.
They don't own it.
Yeah.
So that's not the way it's going to work. And that's why I do like working with attorneys on our side.
And John
in
was
these
the first, like,
transactions.
we
Yep.
were literally like
Right,
like a week before closing because the deposit had
Yep.
been given and everything, and
right.
she caught it right.
Exactly. So, on that one, we do work with Dunlap Moran a
Yeah.
ton because their attorneys do a great job for us, right? Okay, what do we do when, well, let's back up to that. And it costs the same as just going to a title company where you just have a representative handling things. So what do we do when insurance repairs, excuse me, 4-point and wind mitigation issues are identified after the inspection period deadline has passed? Well, number one, when it's insurance related, I immediately look at this and go, so what? In my mind, this is a so what, because you can't get a loan. You can't get insurance, you can't get a loan. What do? You immediately call that seller's agent and you tell them what's going on. This is where you take extreme ownership, right? Like that book I like so much. But the fact of the matter is, when there's something like this going on, you've got to pick it up and go, whoa, wait a minute, this can't be done. So now try and do everybody's job for them, right? So now you've already reached out to the 4-point and wind mitigation companies. You've reached out to other companies that can come out and fix those things, right? This isn't just a, oh, this happened, now what do we do? Oh my goodness, and pout with the other agent. No, here's an answer.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for answers in life. If you have the answer, guess what? They're going to run with it and you're their hero. And they won't be able to wait to work with you next time because you got it done. So you need to identify what those issues are. You need to draft another addendum that these things have to be done prior to closing so that the buyer can take those documents, provide them to the lender, because again, it's going to be based on insurance. So talk to the lender too. Ask them, what documents do you really want? Okay, because they don't want to be flooded with information they don't need. They want to know what does it need and are those things done? If they are, great. Some will just go, hey, we'll just wait until you have the insurance in hand and then we'll go forward. Okay, that works too, right? So deadline passing does make a difference. If now you want a non-insurance repair done, you're out of luck. It's just, you're out of luck. It doesn't work that way. So we need to really look at our contract terms and make them make sense and honor them. And we need to be sure that we can express those things to our buyers and sellers properly. If you have written a bunch of these contracts and haven't ever stopped and really read them, that's not good. We've had trainings on those. You need to read your contracts. The minute you have a question about a contract, go back and read the whole thing again. Have a highlighter with you, highlight those things. If you have bullet point questions, ask Leah, ask me. More importantly, go back into our app files trainings, right? All you got to do is go there first, and it'll make you look smarter. So go in there first and go, oh, well, that was already covered. Okay, well, now I watched that. I still have questions. That's when you come to us and go, hey, can you help me with this? And absolutely we will. You know we will. So what do I do when a listing agent won't respond? This is a real one, and I think this might have been Daphne's, but it's also been everybody. Yeah, and it's also been Leah's. We've all had this, and Chris. We've all had this. My thing is, I can get so direct when that sort of thing happens. I can be really nice and then I can be very direct, and they typically don't go hand in hand. So when somebody's not responding, it kind of sticks in my craw, and I'll leave them a message. Hey, look, I need you to do your job. And if you don't, I'm going to reach out to your broker here in 1 hour. I'll give you an hour to get back to me. If you don't, I'm going to your broker. And because we need answers to this. If the broker won't respond, then you go to the board. Okay. And the very first thing you should do before you start going down those trails of calls is reach out to the board attorneys that are free and ask them what's the best process for you to handle with this. And then guess what? Those attorneys are going to have communicated with you. You need to give them the property address. They cannot talk to the other agent now. This is our helpline, our hotline, right?
What if in that process, they actually do reach out? The agent does reach out to you?
Great. That's what you
So
wanted.
then you just drop it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. If it's resolved,
yeah,
but just let them know, hey, don't do this to me again. If you're in the hospital, I get it. We all get that there's family issues and things. You just got to let me know. If you don't, this is the way it's going to go. And it's not, I'd really love to keep this friendly and the best attitudes possible to get transactions done. I want to work with you in the future. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to our buyers.
Okay.
Don't do this to your sellers. People need to understand, because some people have not been trained. They speak well, and they're likable, and they get listings when they don't know what they're doing. They've taken their class, they've gotten licensed, and they have no idea what they're doing out in the field. So we need to help them. My opinion is help everybody and get a deal done, right? Okay, so what do I do when there isn't complete information about a property in the MLS? Call the agent. That's the very first thing. Call the agent. If that doesn't work, you know, I guess typically this question is going to come around HOA things and stuff like that. Call the HOA. Look at other listings in there. Somebody's going to have that data in there. Do their work for them. We're now working for a buyer that really wants this property. We need to help them get it. And other people, this may be a part-time gig. They may be working all day long and not even be able to call this HOA during working hours. And, you know, they just lucked out into getting a listing from their Uncle Uncle Jim, whatever, Aunt Sue, Uncle Jim. And you never know these days. But anyway, I'll stop. Oops. But anyhow, it's just real. Do everybody's job for them, take ownership of the transaction, and it makes it so much easier on everybody. How do we handle repairs when there is no will or trust on a home that's on the market and the owner has passed? That's okay. It's in probate. That's called a probate sale. Now, if the owner passes in the transaction, this is going to be a little different. Okay. Now, asking me, how do you handle repairs? You go through the agent that has it listed. If you're the listing agent and you're in this situation, you need to make sure that it's already gone through probate. If it hasn't, you can't sell it. So you're wasting your time and a buyer's time, okay? So these things happen. It's kind of like if you're in contract on let's say you're in contract on a short sale and the buyer goes, hey, I just realized I can do bankruptcy and I can stay in the house. Yeah, your deal's dead. It doesn't matter what's done, contracts are done, escrows are in, everybody agreed. Nah, that seller's just gonna be belligerent. If he's not listening to a bank and things like that, or people are behind on their taxes, the other one for me. If they're not afraid of Uncle Sam, they're not afraid of you, okay? And or anything else that might come down the path. They're just trying to keep a roof over their heads. So on this one again, if the owner has passed, talk to the agent, be sure that it has passed through probate. If it has, then you discuss the repairs with them, and they're going to talk with whoever is in charge of that estate, okay? And oftentimes, again, if there's no will or trust, it's an attorney, which is great. I like working with attorneys on these things because, you know, you don't want to sit there and talk on the phone to them for 10 minutes. You want to keep it to like a 2-minute phone call. I'm in contract on this home, understand the owner passed. Sorry to hear that, but I understand you're the probate attorney on this thing and in charge of the estate. That's great. I'm looking for getting repairs done for our buyers. Can you guys still do those? Or do we need to seek a credit for those repairs? Right? And boom, done. So what do you do when a buyer or seller passes away under contract? Oh, this is such a drag. First of all, you feel really bad for the families, and you have to take this from that perspective first. We can't always look at business from I'm getting paid to, oh my gosh, I'm not getting paid and I was counting on that. You can't count on finances and real estate until deals are at the closing table and funded. Just don't do it or you're going to be disappointed. When this happens, typically, again, it's going to be in a will or trust, and things are going to shift. There's going to be extensions filed on the contract, and you can still get it to a closing table. But you just need to talk everybody through it and see who's managing the estate now, right? Who's in charge of that? Who are the heirs? Or do all the heirs now have to sign? It's possible. You know, who has the power of attorney over this? Somebody does. Typically, if somebody's heading towards passing away, they've already assigned their POA to somebody. Okay, so what do I do when I schedule and go to a property and it appears the homeowners are there? Do I let myself in? Do I verify my showing schedule first? Do I knock? It's awkward when my buyers are with me. Okay, guys, number one thing I do is I'll look back and make sure that I scheduled it for the right day. Oh no, there you go. Okay, so then if you blew it and you've already gone and you just apologize to everybody involved, apologize to the other agent, just the quickest thing, best thing you can do is apologize. My bad, I didn't realize, You know, yep, I saw people there. That happens sometimes. Folks just still want me to use the lockbox. So they know who it is coming and going. There's ways to explain it. Unless it's a combo lockbox, then there's no explanation for going in if people are there. You knock hard and loud. Get them to come. Ring the bell. Because it is awkward when your buyers are looking over your shoulder going, man, looks like they're having a party in there, but I really like the house. You know, that can get awkward. But fact of the matter is, you don't just go in if there are people home. They have to let you in. Do not use the lockbox.
Yep.
Don't do it, okay? Or you're going to have some agents that are really upset because their sellers are going to be really upset. That's the way it works. Issues continued. Really? Do you think issues continue in what we do? Oh, this is so fun. Every day it's something different, which is what has been great for me in this career field. It keeps my interest. It really does, because there's always something interesting, you know, whether it's Native American Indian lenders and things like that Joey has gone through, and some of these various things that it's like, I'm going, what? Yep. And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, sure enough, look at that. Well, let's talk to him. How about, what do I do if a listing agent, what do I do as a listing agent when a buyer backs out? You know, what do I tell my seller? How do I deal with this? It's horrible. This is always frustrating, especially, and again, this just happened with me and Chris, my buyer, Chris's seller. You know, all I can do is apologize. I can't believe this is happening. But in the meanwhile, the sellers are packing, getting ready to leave, whether they were ready to or not, doesn't matter. It's that this was their plan. So now, boy, we need to become therapists as well, right? We need to be hand holders. We need to explain to the seller that there was nothing wrong with your property. The buyer's situation changed. That's all there is to it. And that's what I would typically go to as the answer. Whether it's just the buyer changed their mind and just said, forget it, and your house is ugly, we didn't like the color, you know, walked in and whatever. It just doesn't work for him anymore. I hate to use that statement. I always actually ask the buyer, may I say, and give them a reasonable excuse that lines up with them. And then people are typically like, oh yeah, you can tell them that. Okay, thanks. I'll put it in an email to you. You don't want to put words in their mouth without having a confirmation and a trail, because if it gets back to them, then you could also be in the wrong, right? So everything we do, do it based on the fact every email you send out, every text, I can be sued based on this. Could I? I like short and sweet, other than training sometimes, but short and sweet as far as what kind of responses we give to other agents, what kind of responses we give to buyers and sellers and attorneys, especially in anything written. And if they want to get together and have a cup of coffee, we'll talk. All right. Otherwise, you can write an email and then just go back and start crossing out the things that really don't matter. Here's really what I meant to say, and it was only 2 sentences. Perfect. I covered it. That's all they need to hear. Okay. And it's most likely going to get read, because a lot of us get hundreds of emails every day, and we can only see and read so much. Removing a temporarily withdrawing a listing. What's the difference? When do I do or use? Which one do I use? When? That's the big question here. So the thing is, what's the situation? Everything and most of the things we face are, it depends. So it depends. Are they going to be doing repairs on that property? Do they have contractors that are going to be in that property? That's the perfect time to use a temporarily off the market. And because temporarily off the market, you're just saying, hey, we're just going to leave it off the market until those repairs are done. And you can even go in your realtor notes and specify, we're having these repairs done. When they're completed, it'll be back on the market. Okay? The difference with that one is, now let's think about it from a sales perspective, right? Not that we're ever salespeople or wear that hat. Yeah, right. Here's where we are. A buyer looks at it being temporarily off the market and goes, well, what happened? What's wrong? You know, and you can do that if somebody's sick, somebody's ill, whatever it may be. Dog died. I don't know, but there are certain time periods where people are in mourning or whatever. That's when you use that, in my opinion. When do you withdraw a listing? Well, depends. Are you firing that seller? Have you had enough of them? They're rude. They're terrible. You don't have to keep working for somebody that's belligerent with you. You can just let them know, hey, apparently this just isn't working, and I'm going to send you over a withdrawal so you can go work with someone that's really going to be able to meet your needs better than I am. And I apologize, it typically does not come down to this ever for me, but here we are. And sorry about that. Let me turn off my ringer. Okay, so anyhow, when do you use a withdrawal? It's not just because you're firing a seller. It can also be, hey, you know, the seller decided to stay. The market's not where they thought it was going to be. That new home they really wanted, it's no longer available. Their offer got rejected with a clause saying that it was based on or contingent upon a home sale for them, and they panicked. They don't want to be homeless. Okay, how about they're doing a bunch of repairs and it's going to take more than 60 days. Why would we want to withdraw instead of taking it temporarily off the market, guys?
Because then you get a brand new listing.
I got a brand new listing, 0 days on market, bingo. And so that's a big thing to do. In my opinion, doing that is very effective. It's right up there with the changing your lead photo once a week, changing your lead sentence in your explanations and descriptions once a week. It boosts you right back up in the, what's it called? The meta, the algorithms. Yeah, there you go. And keeps your listing up front and fresh. So that's where I think the difference is. Any other questions on this? Okay, because I think it is important to know the difference. How do I go about having the uncomfortable conversation with my seller?
Which one?
Yeah, so here's the deal. I think that this question is based upon I don't want to work for them anymore, or they're getting terribly low offers. And how do we have that conversation? Immediately. Don't wait. Don't sleep on it. Oh my gosh, you're not going to get any rest. You're going to be exhausted, and then you're going to try to have this conversation. Make yourself your cup of coffee. My opinion, it's better to do it eye to eye. I prefer to do that than over the phone, even if somebody's been hostile with me. Because people have a really hard time being angry with you when you don't respond in kind. When you just sit there and go, I understand how you feel. And because of that, I think you probably ought to sign this. And it's okay. You need to find somebody else. Or you need to sign this price adjustment. You really need to. If you want the home sold. You put it on the market with me because you want to sell the home, right? This is your best shot at that right now. Sorry, but it's what the market's doing. It's not me. The numbers don't lie, guys. And you have those uncomfortable conversations. How about the house smells like an animal? And you're listing this house. Or the house is filthy. Talk to them about it. I am just so blunt in these situations. It's unbelievable. But I just think that that's the only way to handle it. You can try to be nice about it, but the fact of the matter is if you walk in and somebody's underwear sticks to your heel when you're walking in and there's dust and dirt everywhere, you can tell them that, hey, we can sell the house like this, but it's going to look like a distressed sale. You need to understand that the price point that I quoted you before I saw the house was based on comps. But right now, if we look at those other comps, actually, let's look at them. Pull up pictures of them. See how pretty that looks? Oh yeah, mine's going to look that way in a week. Okay, are you hiring a professional cleaning company and a steam cleaner to come in and a painter? Why not ask? Because let's go ahead and sign this listing agreement and I'll do it, but let's put that listing date 2 weeks out because you need to get this work done and I'll help you do it. And then people are like, oh, thank God, because my husband won't do a darn thing. Okay, you know, or whatever. And the husband's sitting there going, yeah, she's got me. I'd rather go golfing. Okay, right? So when I think that uncomfortable conversations need to be dealt with immediately. No different in any relationship. You don't go to bed angry with your spouse. It's a terrible idea. Or you can go to bed angry, but make sure that you've talked it out and they know that you love them. With a seller, they need to know that you really care about them. If they don't think you care about them, they're not going to work with you. Or they're not going to care about you if they do. What do I do when I find out the lender that pre-approved my buyer isn't a licensed lender? Oh, the things I have seen. This really happened as well. It's just crazy This lady was putting herself out there, or this, this individual was putting themselves out there as a licensed lender. It was Joey.
I remember.
Yeah. As a licensed lender and did a pre-approval letter for this buyer and everything. And I think that she was actually trying to hold escrow.
Oh, uh-huh.
Hello. Anyway, it didn't take too long. It's important, guys, in everything that we do to Google who we're working with. Because Google never lies, right? No, but it's just important to check these things because it's easy enough to check if somebody's licensed or not.
And the best way to do it is NMLS.
Yeah.
Consumer access.
Yep,
Punch it in and
Yeah.
it'll pull it right up.
there you go. But it does happen. And it's really awkward when you're in contract and you find out that this lender who has been responding, and then all of a sudden they stop responding. What happened? Yeah, research them ahead of time. It makes your life a whole lot easier. There's a reason that we recommend lenders like Chris and folks that work with us because we know they're licensed. We've worked with them in the past. We know they get deals done and they're real.
We can find him.
Yep. But it's crazy the scams that are out there, guys. It's unbelievable. And they come across real. That's the freaky part.
Yeah.
Real letterheads, everything looks professional, and it's not. It's all a lie. It's a facade. Issues continued. Really? There's more? That's crazy. What do I do when the market has dropped in value and my listing price needs to be reduced? Not needs. Leah, you didn't edit me. Anyway, needs to be reduced.
Can only do so much.
I know. I need all the help I can get in life with these things. But fact of the matter is, we need to do what? What's part of our marketing plan? Just keeping the sellers informed with what's going on in the market. The same thing with our buyers, but we're talking about listing price right now. So with listing, with our sellers, we need to make sure that when we see that the market in the community has dropped significantly or at all, we need to talk to them about it because we can either, again, my best description of this is kids playing soccer, and we called it guppy ball back in the day, where there goes the ball, there go all the kids. And you have the one coach that outsmarts them and goes, hey, you wait down by the goal. Anybody that gets a foot on that ball, you kick it to Joey down there because he's going to put it in the goal. And they score and they win. So we need to explain that to our sellers that, hey, we want you to be the one that, or I want to be Joey down there. I just want to kick it in the goal for you. That's what you want, right? Best way to do that? Let me suggest a price reduction. How do you do that? Based on the community, based on what's going on in the overall market, and make it clear to them. But you've got to educate them. People want to be educated. They want this information, right? I guess I should have put another break in here. There's a lot to this one. You know what's funny is this doesn't seem very long when it's only 3 pages of these until you start explaining them. Yes, what time is it? We're doing good, guys. Okay, but I have no problem with everybody getting more coffee. What do I do when I hold an open house and no one shows up? How do I explain that one to my seller? They have a beautiful home. It's pristine. The curb appeal is perfect. Everything's great. Nobody shows up. You've got cookies out there. You've brought coffee. You've brought drinks. Now you've drank all the coffee and eaten all the cookies and there's still nobody there and you've got crumbs on the floor. How do you explain it to your seller? You know, you can either take responsibility for it, which is the one I like to do, which is, hey guys, let me just explain. Here's what we did. Here's the marketing we did leading up to this open house. I didn't just put signs out and pray that somebody would show up and follow my signs in. That's one of the weakest way to do an open house. Doesn't mean that you can't do them that way occasionally. If you've got time and you can go sit there, maybe a buyer will walk in you can work with, right? Typically, you're going to load it in the MLS so other agents see it. And then it's going to feed out through Zillow, Realtor.com, HomeSnap, all these things. That's important. Multimedia marketing. Would we not put those things out to everybody we know and market public, right? That's important to share it. Why not make it an event too?
That was smart.
You know? Thank you.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
How does we were talking about Michael's Brothers at the last meeting, remember, we're all getting all this marketing material, sorry.
It's okay.
Now we're getting all this marketing material from, other broker shops.
Mhm.
Michael Saunders, who you told me is
Of course.
really a female.
Yep.
But I'm getting tons of like broker open houses. How are they getting my information? Is it through Racing?
Yeah.
Are they buying that? Or are they
Absolutely.
posting
Yeah.
somewhere that we
They're-
all have that access?
Yeah, they're buying it and paying for it.
Is that what
Yeah.
they, okay.
Mhm.
That's what
Yep.
that is.
And it's easy to do. But here's the deal. How much do we really want to market to other agents right now? This is we're getting ready to turn that page.
Mhm.
And you know, I'm even, Leah, make a note, we need to work with our web guy and make sure that all of our listings are in with the amounts that we're paying on our website that people can go to. That's important because things are going to be changing in the next couple of months, right? I mean, even though it's still not approved, RASM's already, or Stellar, all of them are going through the process. They're getting their documents changed. This is coming. So we need to make sure we do that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't, I thought they were probably buying that list. I just
Mhm.
wasn't sure. I
Yep.
was making sure that there wasn't somewhere in the MLS that I missed from being new realtor side that I could post that through there and it was shoot all that out.
Yes, you can, but you pay for it. And
Okay.
typically it's one of the marketing companies that does it, and they do have that list of information straight from our associations.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like working with Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those firms. And I hope all of them watch this because in my opinion, they're stealing our business. And what they're doing is they are reaching out, grabbing our information, getting buyers to reach out to them as though they're the listing agent. They'll go, well, your information's out there. Yeah, at the very bottom, after you scroll down 10 pages, there's your information typically. And you know, up here it says contact agent. And it's like, that does not go to you. So you're going to buyers agents that they have now sold these leads to that don't know how to generate business themselves. And they are going to use those leads. We've tried it. It can work, but other times you're spending more than you're making. Okay. So again, how do you explain these things to your seller? I think that you just tell them and you show it to them. Show them the differences then. And then what fixes everything in real estate? A home won't sell. What fixes that? Price. Price fixes everything. There's always going to be a number where somebody will buy it and go, holy smokes, look at that deal. I'm in. Right? So you need to sometimes get to that number before everybody else in the community does. Because what's going to happen is that's going to set the new bar, and with the way the market is at this exact moment. That will change and markets go up and down, right? But when they're going down, you want to be at the bottom of the pile. If you're not, it's not going to sell. Unless the home is just something really unique, spectacular, meets needs that other homes don't in that community. Then it still may sit longer, fewer showings, but when you have the right buyer walk in, they're going to buy it. So there are those, okay? What do I tell a seller when their property isn't being shown by other agents? What did we just say?
Reduce the price.
Yeah, price fixes everything, guys. It's not being shown because they're finding other deals. Let me show you what else you can buy with that same amount of money in our MLS right now. You got to show them. If you just tell them, well, that's one thing. But if you back it up with data, and the easiest way, again, reach out within, a mile of that house. Here's my price point. What's available? Boom. Okay, share that. And then people will go, oh, I get it. I get it. Okay, so what do I need to do? And then be blunt with them. You need to hit this price point. Gosh, I really didn't want to go below. I know, and I didn't want you to either, but this is what the market's saying. Sign here. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Sign here. And I use that line. Just rip the Band-Aid off. It's going to hurt now, but you want the home sold, right? That's why I'm here. Okay. What do I do when I have more leads and work than I can keep up with?
Oh, Chris,
Drown yourself.
There you go.
help you.
This is real. You share with other agents in the office, and we do splits. You then do splits with them, right? So a typical buyer's agent working with or under another lead agent is going to be earning 60% of that. With some agents, 60% of that transaction. Listing agent keeps 40. If you're with certain other companies, right up front, they're going to take 50%. It just is what it is. You know, with Coldwell Banker, typically the best you're ever going to get to is 85%. Plus you got a $4.95 transaction fee. If you go to Michael Son, I mean, some of these companies, you can go and research them yourself, but the fact of the matter is fee structures are different. But when you've got more than you can deal with, you need to have other agents that aren't doing as much that you want to work with, provide them. Give it to them. And this is going to hit. I think this is going to hit within the next probably 60 days. I really think that our market's going to do a 180 with a lot of this stuff as these things hit. Hometown Heroes hits, right? 3%.
Yep.
These things are real, and it is going to change our marketing. Okay. And however, we're working with sellers that want to sell now. We work in today's market every day. We look at projections with goals in mind. We're working in today's market, guys. And you need to remind your sellers that. Ask yourself, I don't feel like working today. Would I rather take a job where someone tells me when to be there, what to do, limits my income, or treat this business as a professional career choice that it is? Get after it. It's different if you're feeling burned out, guys. We all hit that point. At that point, be sure to take a break after you've responded to others. This is an after. Take that break after you've responded to others, bounce the balls back into their courts. Doesn't mean you need to be available the rest of that day. You can go walk on the beach after that. But don't do it the other way around, or you're going to frustrate your buyers and sellers that you're working with. They will go to someone else. I like this one. Winston Churchill. I got this from Country Living. But success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue is what counts. That counts. I just think it's just so true. And what we do, we need to stay after it and do the same things day in and day out. Now, what if you're doing, I'm just going to ask you guys one more question. What if you're doing everything right and deals just aren't happening? What do you do? Keep doing it. We've trained on this. And I mean, there's those that face horrible dry spells just getting things going in this business, right? It happens, right? There are others that luck out and get deals immediately, but they're doing the same things. Doesn't make this agent any better. They just happen to have folks that were ready to do something right now. The one that's going to do better is the one that doesn't give up, that just sticks with it and keeps working, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to end up outworking the one that got one deal done right out of the starting gates and thinks it's easy. It's kind of like being a bow hunter and getting a deer your first day out, and you think that's the way it's going to be every day. In the next 3 months, you don't see anything. The one that gets the deer is the one that's in the woods. We need to be in the fields here working.